Well, hello. Hi. Good evening. Well, hello. I am Sam. You were listening to Literacy. Well, hello. Also, I feel I'm perhaps woefully underprepared for tonight. I feel I'm... And also, I hope you can't hear my fan in the background. And also, I hope you can't hear my fan in the background. And also, I hope you can't hear my fan in the background. Yeah. No. Don't worry. I got it. I'll explain in a sec. This is why... Yeah, don't worry. It's solved. Don't worry. I'll wait for you all to calm down. We good? Okay. It's because... So, this is why the whole... Am I muted? Chat, am I muted whenever Lucy's on stream? It's because I mute the desktop audio. And then, because I left the desktop audio unmuted, it meant that the stream that I'd left playing in the background, because I don't have it pumped out into the room, I've got it, like, isolated, I didn't hear that it was coming through onto the stream. Chat, I'm gonna be real with you. I've not had the best day. Don't worry, no one here has done anything wrong. You're not, like, putting me on tilt. Just, like, getting this out there early. I've not had a great day. Nothing major or drastic, just, you know, those happen sometimes, and today was one. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try not to, like, get it onto the stream, because nobody wants that. But I did realise when I opened up the stream, Arian, I must apologise. I completely forgot. We completely forgot, but I'll take the blame. To thank you for the 50 bits for enlarging the books emote yesterday. I saw it come through. And just, I'm so unused to seeing, like, the enlarged emotes thing. I forget that it's a thing that you pay bits to do. So I apologise. Thank you. We appreciate it. And try your best to contribute to the chill vibes. I will do the same. The other thing that you probably lost there then in the infinite me is I feel woefully underprepared for this. I've been trying last week. And was meant to do more today, and then work got away from me. Well, no, it didn't. Work carried me away instead. And I was hoping to, like, see if I could prepare a few more folk tales for today. I've got some, and I figure between reading them, apologising for my attempts at any accents that may be required, so that I'm not reading stories that are written in a very obvious regional accent in my default stock, straight off the shelf, extremely middle class accent. It wouldn't fit. It would be way too incongruous. And so in advance, I apologise for how it's going to sound. You'd love to hear the voice in the night again. Ooh, good shout. That's not today, that will be Thursday, but thank you, yes. Feel free to stick out in the Discord, because I will forget. Stories of Northumberland, featuring offensively Geordie Sam. Yeah, great. That's just what you want. No, there's a lot in here from, like, Yorkshire. Which is an accent I know I can do. Not in a way that will convince someone from Yorkshire, but perhaps in a way that would convince, you know, an American. Hey, and that's close enough sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a bit of a challenge. I've got some, and I figure between reading them, this whole spiel, apologising, and, like, discussing them, we might have enough for a stream. If not, I may have to dig in and try and find some more. You're prepared to be convinced? Thank you. Yeah, suspend disbelief. This is like what, like, you're gonna get the accent equivalent of. You're gonna get the accent equivalent of a Neil Breen film, of Neil Breen VFX. You know, like, that's just it. It's gonna be the vocal equivalent of just a man in a location that he obviously has not filmed. This is just a photograph, and he is positively luminous with a green outline. Like, that is what you're getting, and I'm sorry, it's my best. I hope that's okay. But yeah, to introduce, this is I will be reading from my the Watkins book of English folktales by Neil Phillip. Forward by some guy whose name I'm not going to mention because it, seems pretty convincing that he's kind of, to put it as lightly and politely as I can, an asshole. Someone who, up until a few years ago, was quite known in, sort of fantasy writing circles, and is now thoroughly an asshole. So, he wrote the foreword, and we don't care about that. But the rest of the book is like, he's not touched that. He just wrote some words in it, and screw him. But yeah, this is the Watkins book of English folktales. It was gifted to me for Christmas a couple of years ago by Lucy's parents, and it's really cool. I basically sat there, like, then after getting it for like the rest of the Christmas holidays, just like reading. I haven't like read through the book, just like reading the foreword, reading the introduction, read all the extra bits around it, just to try and like get a grasp on what I'd actually been given. And it's super cool. And what it is I've mentioned it a few times before, it's a collection of English folktales, obviously. Hence, it's not just a clever name. That's what it is. And they are ones that, it's not like they haven't just been like written down, like, okay, give me the details and we'll like write it down. This is someone who has gone to people who are like, I think, known in their communities for being the people who gathered and told these tales, and like sitting there to record them telling the tale, and then this is how they have said it written down. So there's ones, quick hello, welcome in. There's more than a few where there was one that I was literally just reading before the stream started, where like the person telling will like give a few different options for the name of a person. It was, where was it? I was just reading it. Don't worry, give me a second. This is great radio. No, wasn't that. All this just to find a name. No, it doesn't matter. But what was I saying? Yeah, there's ones where it's, if it would be as if someone were writing down what I'm saying now and like transcribing all of the stuff that I just said, because that's also included in the story. Page SMR? Yes, that is true. Love you some folklore collecting. Well, that's what this book is. It's really more just like an advert for this book, I guess. Like, if you like what you hear, then go look at the book. It's cool. Llama, hello, welcome in. The more history is in stories or songs, the better for you anyway. Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, like I've tried to select ones that don't have so much of like the story. Essentially, what I would say like is the storyteller's voice. Like I don't want to have to try to do an impression of this particular person, whoever it may be that's telling the story. Were they all collected during a particular period of time? I will look and see. Let's find the introduction, because I think it does explain. There's no easy place that I can think of in the book for me to look and see, like, this is the span that they were collected across, and this is who by. This collection of English folk tales from authentic sources has been arranged primarily for the reader's pleasure as a representative anthology of the English tradition of oral storytelling, but it is also intended to serve as a reference and source book. The notes appended. Yeah, we've got notes. Oh yeah, I also learned about the guess like the folktale index, where it's basically TV tropes for folk stories. What was the title again? It was The Watkins Book of English Folktales by Neil Phillip. I feel like there's, because yeah, the first one I'm looking at, first one I'm going to read actually is from 1860, and then there's another one. First one is source Joseph Jacobs, English Fairy Tales, 1890. Narrator Jacobs recalling My Old Nurse, Australia, presumably Sydney, 1860. And then there's another one I've just turned to, source Dora E. Yates, A Book of Gypsy Folk Tales, 1948. So they... Arne Thompson, that's the one. Arne? I'm not sure. Was it Danish? Yeah, it might be Arne Thompson. Yes, that's the one. So as I say, sort of like TV tropes for folk tales, where, you have... And sadly that list isn't in this book. But it's got like the type for each of them to tell you. It's essentially what AO3 tags you're getting in this one. Been watching a lot of mudlarking videos and just had a thought there's a little bit like literary mudlarking. Yeah, I can see it. Nice one, Andy, thank you. Because yeah, well, let's tell you what, rather than just talk about it, should we get into the first story, and so then you can see how we're going. Folklore indices are a fascinating rabbit hole. Again, not beating the TV tropes allegations. Just don't use them like people use TV tropes to go, oh, it's a this thing, like, or it's a this thing, therefore it's bad. Like, no. It's genre classifications, not a stick. Hell Manson, hello, welcome in. Right, let's have a story. Let's start. And let's start with a classic. King Under the Mountain, how original. Yeah. Just enjoy the thing. Anyway. Sorry, there was the recent discussion. I didn't read the full thing, but I think it was like an interview with Chris Nolan about, like, how do you feel about... Well, it's basically about the thing of, like, guessing where a plot is going, therefore means that the plot is bad. And it's like, no, it's not. No, that doesn't mean that at all. People are bad at watching and enjoying films. Anyway, all of that said, I'm stopping myself from going on a rant. Exactly, it is not how storytelling works. Let's see, though, who can figure out where this story is going. Your first one for tonight, I don't have any... It should be obvious, actually. I don't have any text to link you to, because this isn't a book that is available in the public domain. You can go and buy this book, and I encourage you to. It's a good book. But this isn't one that's in the public domain. So I don't have a text to link you to. And the stories that I will be reading don't probably exist in this version online. Everyone took all the wrong lessons from Game of Thrones. Yeah, what if, like, someone just dies all the time? That's what makes TV good. Okay, we can discuss this later. Let's discuss this another time. Also, actually, while it's just popped into my head, I haven't even mentioned this to Lucy because I was thinking it yesterday and I forgot to share the thought beyond my own skull. The planned Widow's Bay watch-along on Discord on Saturday, I believe my estimate for how long that would take if we just shotgun through the entire series in one long blast without even any breaks would be somewhere in the region of 8 hours. And I suspect that might be a bit much for most people. My thinking behind doing it all in one go was that it's probably easier for people who want to watch it to just book out one day and then go, yes, I will be there for that to watch it. But owing to time zone differences and things, that probably does still make it harder for someone who wants to be there at the start to also be there at the end. So, would it actually be more convenient for more people if we split it across 2 days? Dave did a Lord of the Rings marathon. It was longer. Yeah, well, this is the thing. We need to like do an ask on the Discord and actually see what people think and when people are free. It's just, yeah, ultimately the goal is for as many people who want to be there to watch it to be able to watch it. And if that would actually be more convenient for more people to do a shorter stretch on 2 different days, rather than, because we could do it like this Saturday and next Saturday, for instance. I'm not, or this Saturday, next Sunday, maybe. I'm not against doing that. That would be fine. That would work for me, probably. But what's good for other people? I just thought I'd like stick that idea out there now while I remember it, so I don't think, oh yes, that's the thing I was going to do, and then forget. Because I do that. But anyway, I've sat here killing time. You're probably all bored as hell and would like to hear a story, so let's begin. Could just do it over the weekend instead of film night. Yeah, that could also be possible if people could do Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, time's dead. Sorry, I killed it. Right, let's have our first story for tonight. This one. And, you know, it's a classic. Feel free to join in chat if you like. This, you know it, you love it. You've seen the pantomime. It's Jack and the Beanstalk. There was once upon a time a poor widow who had an only son named Jack and a cow named Milky White. And all they had to live on was the milk the cow gave every morning, which they carried to the market and sold. But one morning Milky White gave no milk, and they didn't know what to do. "What shall we do? What shall we do?" said the widow, wringing her hands. "Cheer up, mother. I'll go and get work somewhere," said Jack. "We've tried that before, and nobody would take you," said his mother. "We must sell Milky White, and with the money do something, start shop or something." "All right, mother," says Jack. "It's market day today, and I'll soon sell Milky White, and then we'll see what we can do." So he took the cow's halter in his hand, and off he starts. He hadn't gone far when he met a funny-looking old man who said to him, "Good morning, Jack." "Good morning to you," said Jack, and wondered how he knew his name. "Well, Jack, and where are you off to?" said the man. "I'm going to market to sell our cow here." "Oh, you look the proper sort of chap to sell cows," said the man. "I wonder if you know how many beans make 5. 2 in each hand and 1 in your mouth," says Jack, as sharp as a needle. "Right you are," said the man. And here they are, the very beans themselves." He went on, pulling out of his pocket a number of strange-looking beans. "As you are so sharp," says he, "I don't mind doing a swap with you. Your cow for these beans." "Walker," says Jack, "wouldn't you like it?" "Ah, you don't know what these beans are," said the man. "If you plant them overnight, by morning they grow right up to the sky." "Really?" says Jack. "You don't say so." "Yes, that is so, and if it doesn't turn out to be true, you can have your cow back." "Right," says Jack, and hands him over Milky White's halter and pockets the beans. Back goes Jack home, and he hadn't gone very far and as he hadn't gone very far, it wasn't dusk by the time he got to his door. "What, back, Jack?" said his mother. "I see you haven't got Milky White, so you sold her. How much did you get for her?" "You'll never guess, mother," says Jack. "No, you don't say so. Good boy. £5, 10, 15. No, it can't be 20. I told you couldn't guess. What do you say to these beans? They're magical. Plant them overnight and—" "What?" says Jack's mother. "You have been such a fool, such a dolt, such an idiot as to give away my Milky White, the best milker in the parish, and prime beef to boot, for a set of paltry beans. Take that, take that, take that, and as for your precious beans, here they go out the window. And now off with you to bed. Not a sup shall you drink, and not a bit shall you swallow this very night." So Jack went upstairs to his little room in the attic, and sad and sorry he was, to be sure, as much for his mother's sake as for the loss of his supper. At last he dropped off to sleep. When he woke up, the room looked so funny. The sun was shining into part of it, and yet all the rest was quite dark and shady. So Jack jumped up and dressed himself and went to the window. And what do you think he saw? Why, the beans his mother had thrown out of the window into the garden had sprung up into a big beanstalk, which went up and up and up till it reached the sky. So the man spoke truth after all. The beanstalk grew up quite close past Jack's window, so all he had to do was to open it and give a jump onto the beanstalk, which was made like a big plaited ladder. So Jack climbed, and he 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 climbed, till at last he reached the sky. And when he got there, he found a long, broad road going as straight as a dart. So he walked along, and he walked along, and he walked along, till he came to a great big tall house, and on the doorstep there was a great big tall woman. "Good morning, mum," says Jack, quite polite-like. "Could you be so kind as to give me some breakfast?" For he hadn't had anything to eat, you know, the night before, and was as hungry as a hunter. "It's breakfast you want, is it?" says the great big tall woman. "It's breakfast you'll be if you don't move off from here. My man is an ogre, and there's nothing he likes better than boys broiled on toast. You'd better be moving on, or he'll soon be coming." "Oh, please, mum, do give me something to eat, mum. I've had nothing to eat since yesterday morning, really and truly, mum," says Jack. "I may as well be broiled as die of hunger." Well, the ogre's wife wasn't such a bad sort after all, so she took Jack into the kitchen and gave him a junk of bread and cheese and a jug of milk. But Jack hadn't half finished these when thump, 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 the whole house began to tremble with the noise of someone coming. "Goodness gracious me, it's my old man," said the ogre's wife. "What on earth shall I do? Here, quick, come quick and jump in here." And she bundled Jack into the oven just as the ogre came in. He was a big one, to be sure. At his belt he had 3 calves strung up by the heels, and he unhooked them and threw them down on the table and said, "Here, wife, broil me a couple of these for breakfast." "Ah, what's this I smell?" "Fee-fi-fo-fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll have his bones to grind my bread." "Nonsense, dear," said his wife. "You're dreaming. Or perhaps you smell the scraps of that little boy you liked so much for yesterday's dinner. Here, go you and have a wash and tidy up, and by the time you come back your breakfast will be ready for you." So the ogre went off, and Jack was just going to jump out of the oven and run off when the woman told him not. "Wait till he's asleep," says she. "He always has a snooze after breakfast." Well, the ogre had his breakfast, and after that he goes to a big chest and takes out of it a couple of bags of gold, and sits down counting them, till at last his head began to nod, and he began to snore till the whole house shook again. Then Jack crept out on tiptoe from his oven,
And as he was passing the ogre, he took one of the bags of gold under his arm, and off he pelters till he came to the beanstalk. And then he threw down the bag of gold, which of course fell into his mother's garden. And then he climbed down, till at last he got home, and told his mother and showed her the gold, and said, "Well, mother, wasn't I right about the beans? They really are magical, you see." So they lived on the bag of gold for some time. But at last they came to the end of that, so Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more up at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he got up early and got on to the beanstalk, and he climbed 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 till at last he got on the road again and came to the great big tall house as he had been to before. There, sure enough, was the great big tall woman a-standing on the doorstep. "Good morning, Mum," says Jack, as bold as brass. "Could you be so good as to give me something to eat?" "Go away, my boy," said the big tall woman, "or else my man will eat you up for breakfast." "But aren't you the youngster who came here once before? Do you know that very day my man missed one of his bags of gold?" "That's strange, Mum," says Jack. "I dare say I could tell you something about that, but I'm so hungry I can't speak till I've had something to eat." Well, the big tall woman was that curious that she took him in and gave him something to eat. But he had scarcely begun munching it as slowly as he could when thump, 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 they heard the giant's footstep, and his wife hid Jack away in the oven. All happened as it did before. In came the ogre as he did before, said "Fee, fi, fo, fum," and had his breakfast of 3 broiled oxen. Then he said, "Wife, bring me the hen that lays the golden eggs." So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay," and it laid an egg all of gold. And then the ogre began to nod his head, and to snore till the house shook. Then Jack crept out of the oven on tiptoe, and caught hold of the golden hen, and was off before you could say Jack Robinson. But this time the hen gave a cackle which woke the ogre. Just as Jack got out of the house, he heard him calling, "Wife, wife, what have you done with my golden hen?" And the wife said, "Why, my dear." But that was all Jack heard, for he rushed off to the beanstalk and climbed down like a house on fire. And when he got home he showed his mother the wonderful hen, and said, "Lay," to it, and it laid a golden egg every time he said "lay." Well, Jack was not content, and it wasn't very long before he determined to have another try at his luck up there at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he got up early and went on to the beanstalk, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed till he got to the top. But this time he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house, and when he got near it he waited behind a bush till he saw the ogre's wife come out with a pail to get some water. And then he crept into the house and got into the copper. He hadn't been there long when he heard thump, thump, thump as before, and in came the ogre and his wife. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman," cried out the ogre. "I smell him, wife, I smell him." "Do you, my dearie?" says the ogre's wife. "Then if it's that little rogue that stole your gold and the hen that laid the golden eggs, he's sure to have got into the oven." And they both rushed to the oven. But Jack wasn't there, luckily, and the ogre's wife said, "There you are again with your fee, fi, fo, fum. Why, of course it's the laddie you caught last night that I broiled for your breakfast. How forgetful I am, and how careless you are not to tell the difference between a live 'un and a dead 'un." So the ogre sat down to the breakfast and ate it, but every now and then he would mutter, "Well, I could have sworn," and he'd get up and search the larder and the cupboards and everything, only luckily he didn't think of the copper. After breakfast was over, the ogre called out, "Wife, bring me my golden harp." So she brought it and put it on the table before him. Then he said, "Sing," and the golden harp sang most beautifully. and it went on singing till the ogre fell asleep and commenced to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted up the copper lid very quietly, and got down like a mouse, and crept on hands and knees till he got to the table, when he got up and caught hold of the golden harp, and dashed with it towards the door. But the harp called out quite loud, "Master! Master!" and the ogre woke up just in time to see Jack running off with his harp. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after, and would soon have caught him, only Jack had a start, and dodged him a bit, and knew where he was going. When he got to the beanstalk, the ogre was not more than 20 yards away, when suddenly he saw Jack disappear like. When he got up to the end of the road, he saw Jack underneath, climbing down for dear life. Well, the ogre didn't like trusting himself to such a ladder, and he stood and waited, so Jack got another start. But just then the harp cried out, "Master! Master!" and the ogre swung himself down onto the beanstalk, which shook with his weight. Down climbed Jack, and after him climbed the ogre. By this time Jack had climbed down and climbed down and climbed down till he was very nearly home. So he called out, "Mother! Mother, bring me an axe! Bring me an axe!" And his mother came rushing out with the axe in her hand. But when she came to the beanstalk, she stood stock still with fright, for there she saw the ogre just coming down below the clouds. But Jack jumped down and got a hold of the axe, and gave a chop at the beanstalk which cut it half in two. The ogre felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple. Then the ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. Then Jack showed his mother his golden harp, and what with showing that and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich, and he married a great princess, and they lived happy ever after. The end. Jack's an ass. I hate Jack. Yay! And everyone clapped. Not sure what's the moral of that one. Yeah. Like, points against the ogre / the giant. In this story it's the ogre, so we'll call it the ogre. Points against the ogre. He does, he does catch, kill and eat children. There is that. Real fairy tales don't have morals. Yeah. If we steal, we get rich. Yeah. The ogre is rich, has, a golden goose, eats children. He is, there's a fairly easy, simple transition. Transposition, that's the word I was looking for. Between the ogre and, say, your average everyday modern day billionaire. So I'm not entirely against the message contained within this story on those grounds. But if the ogre is rich, he clearly deserves it. Exactly. The ogre is rich, he clearly deserves to be. Right. I misunderstood. There's multiple readings you could make of this story. Jack's a petty thief. Criminal justice was not served. Yeah. Did they specify children? Yes. His wife, Mrs. Ogre. I believe she does say a couple of times about that Englishman you think you smell is probably just that child that you caught and ate yesterday. The aroma is still lingering in the house from that cooked child that you had. That happens a couple of times. So, it's documented, it is in the story. He does eat kids, and perhaps those kids didn't deserve it. Jack, on the other hand, would have been wholly deserving of that fate. Do we even know if the ogre is rich by ogre society standards? That is true, the coins could be very small. Did they specify children? Well, yeah, I think it specifies children. Let's dig into the text. Perhaps you smell the scraps of that little boy you liked so much for yesterday's dinner. Nope, he ate kids. Yeah, he the ogre ate kids. So, like, yeah, it cuts both ways. But there you go. There's your classic Jack and the Beanstalk. Or a classic. I feel like it sort of varies a little bit from perhaps the story that everybody knows. I personally am on the justice for ogres. People eat animals. Yeah. And, you know, kids to this ogre are probably of the same, you know, body season, one and the same. That's definitely the one you know. Oh, fair enough. Like, I mean, I am not a scholar of Jack and the Beanstalk, so I couldn't say, like, the one that I know. I mean, the main story beats that I remember are, yeah, we have no money, we need to sell the cow. Jack goes to market with the cow to sell it, meets a dodgy fella who's like, "Here, lad, you want some beans?" And Jack's like, yeah, sick, magic beans, gimme. Comes back, Muller's angry, tosses them out the window, the beans grow up to a beanstalk that go up to the clouds, and then Jack climbs up. And that's honestly where I get a little bit fuzzy. I don't have memories of him, like, stealing from the giant that's up there, but more just getting into trouble, being chased, and then cutting the beanstalk, which falls and kills the giant. That's the main stuff that I remember. The sequel is Mrs. Ogre meets the man with the beans. What will happen? You can write that fic. You can do that. Oh, you're 80% sure you have the exact book your grandma used to read out of? Oh, hell yeah. Bean seller was rude but honest. Yep, agree. Only knew something about Jack killing a giant. Somehow there was a huge beanstalk involved. Yeah, I mean, I feel like those are the main details. Like, you've got to have those bullet points. Jack's thinking about those beans. Not a reference I get. Oh, your mum called you Mr. Sorry Lady Mephistopheles. It was just Jack and the Beanstalk. Don't worry, I've got more. Not more Jack and the Beanstalk. There are more of those in this. There's like, we've got Jack the Giant Killer, Clever Jack, the Little Red Hairy Man. Oh no, that's not. That is one about. I feel like stories featuring Jack. I feel like, is that a trope? I don't know. That's a different story. The Little Red Hairy Man, but it's set in Derbyshire, which is not an accent. Because who's watched Green Wing? There's a bit where the character Guy Secretan, who the character's an arse, played by Stephen Mangan, who is excellent and by all accounts a really lovely guy. But the character who's playing is an arse who honestly actually has a very similar accent to me. And he's like, there's just for some reason a bit where he says the word Derbyshire. Yeah. And the way he says it, I think he's both sort of trying to make fun of the accent, and the actor playing the character is sort of trying to make fun of the way that the character thinks people in Derbyshire talk. It's great. And I can't read the word Derbyshire without my brain going Derbyshire in the way that he says it. It's, yeah. A guy once commented, "I'm thinking about those beans" on the Facebook page of a baked bean company, and the meme was born. You see, nowadays, anything can be a meme. You just need to say it once, and then someone screenshots it. Boom, you're a meme now. Think you're a meme now. Yeah. The classification for Jack and the Beanstalk is the boy steals ogre's treasure. Yeah. That scans. Yes. AT328, the boy steals the giant's treasure. Yep. So what's the tag for Jack the Giant Killer? AT300, the Dragon Slayer, the boy steals the giant's treasure, and eating contest. Oh, what is this? What's this word? AT1930. Sclarafenland? Sclarafenland? I don't know this. I'm going Derbyshire, aren't I? Sorry. SCHLARAFFENLAND. Sclarafenland. Could you use it in a sentence? I can't. That's... I want to understand what that is. Anyway, let's have another story. Let's... What's this one? I wrote down a page number. Good. I didn't want to write all over this book, but I wrote some page numbers down. That one you know. What is it? Tell me. Right. I have turned to another story. If we're all ready. Does this one have any accent? I've not, in my preparations, I've not written any notes to myself about whether I need to have an accent for any of these, and there is a very real possibility that I will get into a mid-sentence. Sure, I will get mid-sentence, and suddenly realise that something is being written with, an accent. I can't pick one. Just one, and suddenly have to pivot. If that happens, you'll know about it, don't worry. Right, this next story is called The Green Lady, and for those looking things up, it is type AT480. AT480. No, that's no less confusing. The Spinning Women by the Spring. We can all enjoy that. That's a fun sentence. The Spinning Women by the Spring. Right, let's have this story. The Green Lady. Once upon a time, there was an old man who had 2 daughters. Now one of these girls was a steady, decent girl, and the other was a stuck-up, proud, conceited piece, but the father liked her best, and she had the most to eat, and the best clothes to wear. One day, the nice girl said to her father, "Father, give me a cake and a bottle of beer, and let me go and seek my fortune." So the father gave her a cake and a bottle of beer, and she went out to seek her fortune. After she had walked a weary while through the wood, she sat down by a tree to rest herself, and eat her cake and drink her beer. While she was eating, a little old man came by, and he said, little girl, what are you doing under my tree?" She said, "I am going to seek my fortune, sir. I am very tired and hungry, and I am eating my dinner." The old man said, little girl, give me some dinner too." She said, "I have only some cake and a bottle of beer. If you like to have some of that, you may." The old man said he would, so he sat down, and they ate the cake and drank the beer all up. Then the little girl was going on further, and the old man said, "I will tell you where to seek your fortune. Go on further and further into the wood until you come to a little old cottage where the Green Lady lives. Knock at the door, and when she opens it, tell her you've come to seek service. She will take you in. Mind you, be a good girl and do all she tells you to do, and you'll come to no harm." So the little girl thanked him kindly and went on her way. Presently she came to the little cottage in the wood, and she knocked at the door. Then the door was opened by a pretty green lady who said, little girl, what do you want?" "I've come to seek service, ma'am," said the little girl. What can you do?" said the green lady. "I can bake, and I can brew, and about the house can all things do," said the little girl. "Then come in," said the green lady, and she took her into the kitchen. "Now," said she, "you must be a very good girl. Sweep the house well, make the dust fly, and mind you don't look through the keyhole, or harm will befall you. The little girl swept the house well and made the dust fly. Then the green lady said, "Now go to the well and bring in a pail of nice clean water to cook the supper in. If the water isn't clear, change it till it is." Then the little girl took a pail and went to the well. The first pail she drew, the water was so muddy and dirty she threw it away. The next pailful she drew, the water was a little clearer, but there was a silver fish in it. The fish said, little girl, wash me and comb me and lay me down softly." So she washed it and combed it and laid it down softly. Then she drew another pailful. The water was a little clearer, but there was a goldfish in it. The fish said, little girl, wash me and comb me and lay me down softly." So she washed it, and combed it, and laid it down softly. Then she drew another pailful. This was clean water, but there was still another fish who said the same thing as the others had done. So she washed this one too, combed it, and laid it down softly. Then she drew another pailful, and this was quite clear and fresh. Then the three fish raised their heads and said, "They who eat the fairies' food in the churchyard soon shall dwell. Drink the water of this well, and all things for thee shall be good. But be honest, bold, and true, so shall good fortune come to you." Then the little girl hasted to the house, swept up the kitchen, and made the dust fly quickly, for she thought she would surely be scolded for being away so long, and she was hungry too. The green lady then showed her how to cook the supper and take it into the parlour, and told her she could take some bread and milk for herself afterwards. But the little girl said she would rather have a drink of water and some of her own cake. She had found some crumbs in her pocket, you must know. Then the green lady went into the parlour, and the little girl sat down by the fire. Then she was thinking about her place, and what the fish had said, and she wondered why the green lady had told her not to look through the keyhole. She thought there could not be any harm in doing this, and she looked through the keyhole, when what should she see but the green lady dancing with a bogey. She was so surprised that she called out, "Oh, what can I see? A green lady dancing with a bogey!" The green lady rushed out of the room and said, "What can you see?" The little girl replied, "Nothing can I see, nothing can I spy, nothing can I see till the day's high die." Then the green lady went into the parlour again to have her supper, and the little girl again looked through the keyhole. Again she sang, "Oh, what can I see? A green lady dancing with a bogey." The green lady rushed out, little girl, what can you see?" The girl said, "Nothing can I see, nothing can I spy, nothing can I see till the days I die." This happened a third time, and then the green lady said, "Now you shall see no more," and she blinded the little girl's eyes. "But," said the green lady, "because you have been a good girl and made the dust fly, I will give you your wages, and you shall go home." So she gave her a bag of money and a bundle of clothes and sent her away. So the little girl stumbled along the path in the dark, and presently she stumbled against the well. Now there was a fine young man sitting on the brink of the well, and he told her he had been sent by the fish of the well to see her home, and would carry her bag of money and her bundle for her. He told her, too, before starting on their journey, to bathe her eyes in the well. This she did, and she found her eyes come back to her, and she could see as well as ever. So the young man and the little girl went along together until they arrived at her father's cottage, and when the bag was opened, there was all sorts of money in it, and when the bundle was opened, there was all sorts of fine clothes in it. And the little girl married the young man, and they lived happily ever after. Now, when the other girl saw all the fine things her sister had got, she came to her father and said, "Father, give me a cake and a bottle of beer, and let me go and seek my fortune." The father gave her a cake and a bottle of beer, and the same things happened to her as to her sister. But when the old man asked her for some dinner, she said, "I haven't enough for myself, so I can't give you any." And when she was at the Green Lady's house, she didn't make the dust fly, and the Green Lady was cross with her. And when she went to the well and the fish got into her pails of water, she said the fishes were wet, sloppy things, and she wasn't going to mess her hands and clean frock with them, and she threw them back roughly into the well. And she said she wasn't going to drink nasty cold water for her supper when she could have nice bread and milk. And when the Green Lady took out her eyes for looking through the keyhole, she didn't get a bag of money and a bundle of clothes for her wages, because she hadn't made the dust fly, and she had no one to help her and take her home. So she wandered about all night and all day, and she died, and no one knows where she was buried, or what became of her. The end.
Well, chap, what do you think the moral of that one is? And that, kids, is what happens if you don't go to bed right now. Yay, happy ending. Yeah, but she's not wrong about the fish. Like, you know a different version. I've not heard this one before. This one was new to me. Comb your fish. Yeah, so there's an interesting note in this. If I can find it. Yeah, there seems to be like a little bit of doubt about whether it was fish in the well in like the original telling, or possible speculation that it was heads. The substitution of fish for heads seems like an attempted rationalization, though it makes the rhyme they chant, "Wash me and comb me and lay me down softly," mysterious in the extreme. I mean, that's like the author's note. Yeah. To me, it makes more sense if they are like disembodied heads, not in a like. Well, obviously that's where you'd expect to find heads in a well. Fish in a body of water makes more sense than disembodied heads. But you think the Grimm's version with Frau Holly, Mother Holly in your version, right? Better. It has talking apple trees and ovens and people having gold and frogs fall out of their mouths. Yeah, so there is another one which has something like that, like stuff falling out of someone's mouth. You have to ask, have you seen Jim Henson's Storyteller series? Quite neat, odd but neat. It's possible that I have encountered that, because I am old, and when I was younger I used to watch television. In recent years, recent memory, no, but that absolutely sounds like something I will have encountered. And yeah, I can imagine a Jim Henson series that I'm assuming from the question is like puppeteered fairy tales and stuff. That sounds like it would be pretty cool and weird. Yeah. So I'm just repositioning my microphone so I can see chat a little better. John Hurt doing folk tales with puppets and actors. Oh, hell yeah. Okay, that sounds cool. But yeah, that one, that's Jack and the Beanstalk. What's the moral? The Green Lady. There's the moral. Just do what people tell you. Yeah, there's a moral. Do I have a short one that I can go in before a break? Yes. Let's do this. Oh, actually, where was it? 122. Yeah. This is a very short one, so I'm just going to do this and then we can go to a break. This, for those following along with the fairy tale tropes, is an
AT327C, if you would like to turn in your hymn books. The devil carries the children home in a sack. Slight spoilers for the story. This is Mr. Miacca. Tommy Grimes was sometimes a good boy and sometimes a bad boy, and when he was a bad boy, he was a very bad boy. Now his mother used to say to him, "Tommy, Tommy, be a good boy and don't go out of the street, or else Mr. Miacca will take you." But when he was a bad boy, he would go out of the street. And one day, sure enough, he had scarcely got round the corner when Mr. Miacca did catch him and popped him into a bag upside down and took him off to his house. When Mr. Miacca got Tommy inside, he pulled him out of the bag and set him down and felt his arms and legs. "You're rather tough," says he, "but you're all I've got for supper and you'll not taste bad boiled. But, body o' me, I forgot the herbs, and it's bitter you'll taste without herbs. Sally! Here, I say, Sally!" And he called Mrs. Miacca. So Mrs. Miacca came out of another room and said, "What do you want, my dear?" "Oh, here's a little boy for supper," said Mr. Miacca, "and I've forgotten the herbs. Mind him, will you, while I go for them?" "All right, my love," says Mrs. Miacca, and off he goes. Then Tommy Grimes said to Mrs. Miacca, "Does Mr. Miacca always have little boys for supper?" "Mostly, my dear," said Mrs. Miacca, "if little boys are bad enough and get in his way." "And don't you have anything else but boy meat? No pudding?" asked Tommy. "Oh, I loves pudding," says Mrs. Miacca, "but it's not often the likes of me gets pudding." "Why, my mother is making pudding this very day," said Tommy Grimes, "and I'm sure she'd give you some if I ask her. Shall I run and get some?" "Now that's a thoughtful boy," said Mrs. Miacca, "only don't be long, be sure to be back for supper." So off Tommy pelters, and right glad he was to get off so cheap, and for many a long day he was as good could be, and never went round the corner of the street. But he couldn't always be good, and one day he went round the corner, and as luck would have it, he hadn't scarcely got round it when Mr. Miacca grabbed him up, popped him in his bag, and took him home. When he got him there, Mr. Miacca dropped him out, and when he saw him, he said, "Ah, you're the youngster what served me and my missus that shabby trick, leaving us without any supper. Well, you shan't do it again. I'll watch over you myself. Here, get under the sofa, and I'll set on it and watch the pot boil for you." So poor Tommy Grimes had to creep under the sofa, and Mr. Miacca sat on it and waited for the pot to boil. And they waited, but still the pot didn't boil. Till at last Mr. Miacca got tired of waiting, and he said, "Here, you under there, I'm not going to wait any longer. Put out your leg, and I'll stop your giving us the slip." So Tommy put out a leg, and Mr. Miacca got a chopper and chopped it off, and pops it into the pot. Suddenly he calls out, "Sally! My dear Sally!" and nobody answered. So he went into the next room to look out for Mrs. Miacca. And while he was there, Tommy crept out from under the sofa and ran out of the door, for it was a leg of the sofa that he had put out. So Tommy Grimes ran home, and he never went round the corner again till he was old enough to go alone. The end. Don't watch the pot, it will never boil. Yeah, right, you slip that little moral in there. I just love that it's like, right, okay, we're gonna cook you, so yeah, but I also want the pudding that you're offering. That would be, like, honestly, mate, that would be delicious. If you could just pop on home, grab the pudding that you're offering, and then come on back, because we need to get you in the pot, like, clock's ticking, you know? That would be, it's quite funny. I enjoy that one. Yes, Mr. Miacca, or Miacca, I'm not sure, Miacca is how it is spelled. A guy who seemingly just wanders round the corner with a bag, catching up kids and cooking them in pots. Probably deserves it, frankly, if he's anything like Jack. So, that brings us to the end of the first half, and you know what? I think we've got enough for the second half. I think, chat, we might be okay. We might have something that we could approximate as a stream. We'll get there together. Don't worry. So, I'm going to go to a break. Miacca, if Italian. Let me just check. Doesn't say where it's collected from. Could be Italy. Narrator, Mrs. B. Abrahams. No. Mrs. Abrahams remembered the story from her mother's telling, circa 1840. Mr. Miacca was not just a bogey figure, but also a rewarder of good children. Ah. There you go. You were Italian. He'd be cooking a pizza, not little boys. Yes, exactly. If it's followed by an A in Italian, it's a hard ch. Hard CH, hard ch. Okay, look, yeah, I need to take a break. I've lost the ability to read. You know what? You two are going to have to discuss this one amongst yourselves. I cannot. Not just that I cannot contribute on conversations of Italian pronunciation. I should not be allowed to contribute on conversations of Italian pronunciation. Lucy will shoot me. So I'm going to go to a break, and I will see you back here in about 5 minutes for more fairy tales. I hope you're enjoying it. I am. See you back here in a bit. Bye for now.
Hello, I'm back. Hi, welcome back. Hi, sorry, I was delayed just because I needed to make a very important post on the Longest John's Discord, which is someone talking about someone in Canada, I think, talking about apparently the tariffing tubas now. Tubas, the instrument, and all that. It just sounds like a Batman exclamation. It's just something Robin says while punching his fist, and I needed to contribute this before I forgot. So, apologies. It was, I'm sure you can agree, important work. Hello, hi, welcome back. 5 minutes never seems like particularly long, but I've given myself a light to read by. I still need to actually find some stuff to order from IKEA so I can buy a new and updated version of these lights, because my one's quite old and probably actually quite energy inefficient because it gets warm fast. And I should get a better one that just is all around better. I should treat myself. But now I am back, and so are you. How is everyone? It looks like we got settled on Mr. Miacca. And for those of you playing along at home in chat, my joke about Mr. Mazda MX-5, well, you can explain that one for yourselves. If you just Google the car and see what it's called, you'll see where I was going with it. You've been spending stream time trying to transfer from a Word document to a LaTeX document, and you think you're going crazy. Quite got there, thank you. Planes? I don't know what a LaTeX document is. You fetch some frozen wild strawberries and they're just a big solid frozen lump. Yum. I have some frozen raspberries in the freezer, which is where they should be. But I need some things to have them with. It's evil? Okay. I imagine, perhaps facetiously, that LaTeX isn't an especially good medium for text-based communication, but who am I to judge? You remember it being pretty cute with the pop-up lights? I did actually look at a picture. It looks decent. I mean, I'm personally a fan of the design of a Lotus over most other sports cars. It was mainly because Miacca and Miata sounded similar that I had to get that in there somewhere. Could you send LaTeX documents to someone by pinging at them like a rubber band? Yeah. Yeah. You had tacos and chilaquiles. Sorry if I mispronounced that, everybody. Satisfied with this? Sounds good. Between Etsy and archive.com, whoa, it's scrolling. I found the exact book of fairy tales with your version of Jack and the Beanstalk, and you even found the table of contents, so you know what page it's on. But nobody has the full book preview, so you can't actually see the text. No. Saw a Lotus in a car park today. You don't care for them yourself? What kind of Lotus? It's an acronym that stands for lots of trouble, usually serious. Thank you, Amras. I am glad to briefly know that before it again slips as Teflon coated straight out of my brain. LaTeX is a plain text document system that you sort of have to code, and then it compiles into a PDF. It's better than Word for some specific applications, and unfortunately, writing your dissertation is going to be one of them. Oh no, I did well with chilaquiles. Awesome. I am glad. I was actually, not going to say for what reason, which I recognise is already putting a big, "Ooh, isn't this interesting?" sign atop it, but no, you don't get to know more. Just saying to Lucy before stream that I might be interested in possibly looking into how I could go about learning a bit of Cornish. Kernowick, the Cornish dialects. I have reasons that I would like to know more about it and understand it, and I think it would be cool. So who knows, maybe if I go that way, you might start getting some better Cornish accents around these parts. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. Right. Would you like Another story. What do we have? What's on the docket? Well, you know what? We started off with a classic. Let's continue with a classic. Or a version of a classic, I should say. Now here's a little one that you may or may not know. Tell you what. Before I read it, let's do a guess. Anyone that wants to, don't worry, there's no prizes, there is literally nothing on the line at all. I do not care who is right. Let's have a guess at what the next fairy tale story, fairy tale, folk tale, well, you know, folk tale, fairy tale, that I'm going to read is. I'll give you a sec. Learning new languages is always cool. Yeah. New York, incorrect. Snow White, correct. You got it in one. If you struggled, I was going to give you the what does AT stand for again? You've literally already told me earlier, and mind like a sieve, it's gone. Arna something. It's gone. 80. 8709. Snow White. Arna Thompson, thank you. Yes. Does this one have any accent in it? Oh boy, yeah, it does. Why would I give... Okay. Well, this is going to be a rough ride for us all. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, this is Snow White. The guess was Snow White and Rose Red, which is not the same as Snow White. Okay, no, that is true. That is okay. If we're going to fight about it, yeah. Does this have? No, this is just Snow White. So this is just like the first. There are different Snow Whites. Ooh. Yep, no, this is just Snow White. Of Arna Thompson 709. Snow White. Oh boy, okay. This is now me stalling. Audibly stalling, because I'm gonna have to get into an accent. Well, here we go. Let's see what you make of this. Oh, let's get my light actually pointed at the book. That's a good start. This is Snow White. There was once a king and queen as hadn't been married more than a few months. It was into the winter time, and as the queen was sitting by the window sewing, it began to snow, and afore so long everything was white over. Now and again she'd stop working and watch the snowflakes falling. Pure white there was, and uncommon big. Then, accidental or careless, like, she went and pricked her finger. So she opened the window for a moment, and let the drops of blood fall into the snow as covered the sill. 3 red marks they made, and looking at 'em through the window she thought there was a pretty sight. What a pretty sight they made on the white snow. There was a baby on the way, and she got wishing and dreaming about it, daydreaming that is, seeing it as a little girl grown to be 7 or 8, with skin as white as snow, except for 2 rosy cheeks, and lips as red as blood. And what she dreamt come true as ever she could have wished. But she, poor thing, was never to see it happen, for she died when Snow White was born. A year or 2 later, the king got married again. His second wife was a very handsome woman, and by gum didn't she know it. She'd a big looking-glass in her room. She used to ask who was the most beautiful woman in the land, and always it replied as she was. Till one day it followed this up by saying as while she was the most beautiful lady, little Snow White, then 7 years old, was even more beautiful. It had always told the truth, this mirror had, but now the queen's proper put out, and beside herself with jealousy of her stepdaughter. The mirror kept telling her the same thing every time she asked it, and more her jealousy grew till she couldn't bear the sight of Snow White.
And in the end, what did she do but give orders to her groom to take the poor child into the king's forest and kill her? He was to cut her heart out and bring it back with him to prove as he'd carried out his orders. The groom took Snow White into the forest all right, but kill her he couldn't. When he drew his long knife, she began to cry, and begged and prayed of him to spare her life. And she, being so young and so lovely, he felt that he'd sooner risk his, and, mind you, it was a risk he was taking. All the same, he wasn't sorry to hear her say as she go on, and never return to the palace. He thought, as the wild beasts would be sure to get her, poor little thing, but that wasn't as bad as he reckoned as him murdering her in cold blood. He watched her out of sight, and then turned for home. He hadn't gone far when he comes on a young pig, or boar it might have been, rooting in the forest. He kills it, and cuts its heart out, and this he takes to show the queen. She has it cooked, and eats it, thinking all the time was it Snow White's. The little girl, when she's left to herself all alone in the forest, is frightened to death, but goes on as she said she would. She sometimes has to make her way as best she can through thorns and briars and thick undergrowth, and sometimes over rough stones or boggy places. And once some wolves was quite near to her, but they didn't seem to see or scent her. Anyways, they let her be. At last, after what must have been hours and hours, she struck a bit of a path. By then she was near done in, and sat down under a tree to rest. She hadn't been there not about 5 minutes when she heard voices, men's voices, not far away, and getting nearer every minute. She'd a mind to run and hide, but before she could get onto her feet again, the men was atop of her. Big, rough men there was, but they spoke to her ever so kindly. "What might you be doing here, little lady?" one of her axes. Another tells her that if it's help she's wanting, she can count on it from him. And a third says as they'd heard about her and the danger she was in, and was coming to look for her. "And now as we've lighted on you," he says, "you must come home with us. You'll be safe then, and can get rested." Though Snow White didn't know it, there was robbers, these three men was, as lived in a cave in the rocks about a couple of miles further on. Seeing the state she was in, they helped her up, and took it in turns to carry her in their arms all the way to their place, and then put her straight into bed and gave her a glass of wine and a sip of brandy and water. Next morning they asked her what was her name, and she told them it was Snow White. That was when they brought her some breakfast, and said as she was to stop in bed a bit longer, or the best part of the day if she liked. They'd be going out presently, they told her, but she'd be quite safe. There was a door to the cave, and they'd shut it behind them, which meant as nobody could get in as didn't know the passwords, and nobody did, except in themselves. On no account was she to go out, they warned her, as it wasn't safe for her to show herself at present. She heeded all they said, but when they had been gone a while, she got up and had a real good look around. She liked this little house they'd brought her to, but thought how untidy and uncared for it was, and set to work to rid it up. She was only a girl, and not used to that kind of work, but she made a real good job of it. When they landed home again, the robbers was proper surprised, and could hardly credit it as their good fairy was little Snow White. What's more, they was very pleased with her for cleaning and tidying up the place, and said they'd be glad for her to stop with them as long as ever she liked. But for her own sake, she wasn't to open the door to anybody as cold, still less to go out unless they was at home. Very strong on this, there was. She stopped with the robbers a long time, Snow White did, and after a bit begun to get their meals ready as well as clean the house. They was very good to her, and kept bringing her presents, but they never let on what they did, and she never really fun out. In the evenings, one or another of them would sometimes go out with her in the forest for a bit, but never far or for long. Still, there was a nice change for her, these little outings was, and give her a chance to get a few flowers and berries and nuts. There was a tidy few blackberries and bilberries near to the cave, but what she liked best was the flowers and blossoms. She'd use them to decorate their little house, as she called it, and these seeming rough men, they appreciated it. But they wouldn't hear of her going out by herself to pick flowers and that. It was her stepmother they was set on guarding her again. They told her in the end. And it was the truth, that was. After the Queen had eated what she truly believed was Snow White's heart, her jealousy died down. And for a long time she didn't even think of asking the magic mirror who was the most beautiful woman in the land. When she did, she got the shock of her life, for it told her as in the palace and in the capital she was the most beautiful lady. But the most beautiful little lady of all was Snow White. She lived in the forest near as far as you could travel in it. That's what the mirror said. Impossible! The Queen cries out. She's dead and gone. Why, I eated her heart myself. And she acts as a mirror again, but only to get the same answer. They'd always told the truth before, and she was forced into believing that the groom had deceived her, and that Snow White was still alive. They couldn't do nothing to the groom. He'd left soon after and gone right away. But Snow White, she vowed as she'd make an end of her as quick as ever she could. What she did first was to send for the huntsman and ask him how far it'd be to the opposite end of the forest, and if anybody lived getting on for that end. He told her it had happened to be 10 to a dozen miles, and that he'd never seen any sign of human life himself, but had heard tell of a robber gang living in a cave there when they was at home. That was enough to set her thinking as Snow White could have fallen into their hands and be with him still. She mentioned this to him and offered him good money for anything he could find out about them or her. He begins to spend more time at that end of the forest, and in time he finds out where the cave is, and after he's marked out a fairly easy way to it, he takes and shows the Queen. For that he gets a good reward, and the offer is 3 times as much if he catches sight of Snow White. In the end, he succeeds. He sees her picking flowers in a green hollow near the cave, and a man standing by and watching her. She then promises him 10 times as much as she first give him if he brings Snow White to her. Alive or dead, he says, it's matterless which. He sees her out of doors 2 or 3 times more, but always there's a man with her, and he doesn't fancy his chance of getting her off of him. So instead, he calls at the cave when he thinks Snow White is there by herself. He's right, she is, but she won't open the door to him, and he can't open it. He calls out to her, as he's come to rescue her and take her back to the palace, but that doesn't serve as bait. Excuse me, there's a helicopter going over, just adding to the ambience. She might never have heard of him, for all the difference it makes. He tries again, another day, and a third with the same result. And then he tells the Queen as he can't get hold of Snow White for her, nohow he can't, and not for trying any more. But the Queen means to be rid of her one way or another, and first she dresses herself up as a woman hawker and calls at the cave with her basket. Among the things in it was a very pretty neckband, and her plan was to sell it cheap to Snow White, and then insist on putting it on for her, and so get the chance to throttle her. Things didn't pan out like that, though. The door was opened to her all right, but by one of the robbers, as happens to have stopped at home. He took her basket off her, and any money or jewellery she'd got with her, and then he sent her packing. But she didn't leave it at that for more than 2 or 3 weeks. Then she tries to poison Snow White. This time, she gets herself up as a poor countrywoman trying to earn a few pennies by selling apples and posies, the garden flowers. The apples is rosy cheeks, and contains a deadly poison, and into her basket is more poison just as deadly, to put on the flowers just before she gets to the cave. She knocks on the door, and tries to wheedle her way in, but Snow White won't open it to her. So she calls out as she's leaving one of the posies just outside for her, and slips into a hiding place. But no, Snow White doesn't open the door to get it. The Queen then looks about for the green hollow where the huntsman seen the girl picking flowers. In no time she finds it, and where the prettiest flowers is, she puts down in the grass 3 or 4 of the poison apples. When the robbers got home, they found the posy by the door. It had been put down a purpose, they thought, and when Snow White had told them how it had come to be there, one of them made a fire and burnt it. They were suspicious of it, and rightly so, But they didn't know nothing about the apples, and no more did Snow White. There'd never been any mention of him, you see. Well, she didn't have the chance to go out that evening, Snow White didn't. But on the next, the chief of the robbers takes her out for a short while. She makes straight for the green hollow to pick some flowers, and very soon find one of the rosy apples. "Look what I found," she calls out, and takes a bite of it. As soon as he sees what it is, he tells her not to eat it. But it's too late. The deadly poison's done its work, and she drops down, dead. The robber chief kneels down and bends over her. Her breath stopped, her heart still. There's no sign of life at all. He calls to the others, and all three men weep over her. No wailing, but they can't keep the tears back. Then after a bit, they stir themselves and see if they can rouse her. They can't, so they carry her into the cave and lie her on the bed where she'd been used to sleeping. And that night, let me tell you, the Queen put the usual question to her magic mirror and got the answer she wanted with no mention of Snow White. Next day, when the robbers carried her out into the daylight, they noticed that her cheeks was rosy and her lips red. More, it was just the same the day after, aye, and on the day after that. Looking at her, you couldn't tell she was dead, only that she stopped breathing. Being as that was so, they couldn't bring themselves to bury her. So they had a coffin made with a glass lid to it, and laid her in it, dressed in her best clothes and with all her jewellery on. The lid wasn't fastened down, so she could get out of it if she ever come alive again, and they could put things in whenever they wanted to. To begin with, they tried things to eat, but they was never touched. So after a while they give this up. They'd made a bier to stand the coffin on, and when it was fine enough, they took the two outside into the green hollow, or some other flowery spot, and left him there for the time. Weeks and months passed, and still they kept and treasured Snow White, her body that is, and still it stayed the very same as it had been that evening she dropped down dead after eating a bite of one of the poison apples. Indeed, 7 years passed, and even then no change could be seen in her. The robbers didn't tell nobody about her, but one day, when the 7 years was up, a young prince, the son of a nearby king he was, come on the coffin by chance. He'd been out hunting, and didn't rightly know just where he was. He'd never been that way afore, but having noticed the coffin, he thinks he'll take a closer look at it. One of the robbers bars his way. "Begging your pardon, sir, but what might you be wanting?" he axes. "I saw the coffin," says the prince, "and was curious about it, that's all." The t'other two robbers then come on the scene, and the prince was allowed to see the girl laid in the coffin. He gazed and gazed at her, thinking of nothing else but how beautiful she was, by far the most beautiful he'd ever set eyes on. Who was she? He asked them, and they told him about her, and how her stepmother treated her. As good as murdered her twice, they said. "If only she were mine," says the prince, and offers him any price they like to name for their body. "No," they tells him, "it's above price to us." But as he begs and prays of them to let him have it, and swears as he can't live without it, they decided in the end to give it to him. And believe me, that was the best thing they ever did for her. The prince called on 2 of his servants to shoulder the coffin and carry it to his father's palace. They'd gone part of the way when the one at the head end tripped up over a tree root or summat and couldn't save herself from falling. As a result of the coffin come tumbling after him, and the lid was partly what throwed off of it. The prince was on the spot in no time. He'd been following a bit behind, and was just going to curse them for their carelessness when he seen that Snow White opened her eyes and raised herself up. He watches, thinking to herself, she could have come alive again. She half sits up and pushes the coffin lid out of her way. Then she looks about her, bewildered like. "Where am I?" she calls out. The prince is sure now as she's come alive again. "With me," he tells her, "the son of the king, the son of King so-and-so, and your true love as long as ever I live." She is just as puzzled. "But I've never seen you before," she says. "No," he says, "but I've seen you, and soon as I did I knowed I couldn't live without you. Well, where are we going now? She axes. To my father's palace, he says, and begs of her to accompany him. To this she agrees, and is carried the rest of the way there. Her appetite come back right away, and soon as she was able to walk about again and go for rides with the prince. Then he made love to her in earnest, and said as he wanted to marry her. She consented, and a wedding was arranged. It was at the prince's father's palace, and a very grand affair it was. The end. That was a challenge. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Stop being jealous of a child. Yes. Yeah, the queen is out. She's got the helicopters out looking for her. Just like lights all across the forest. How old was she? Yeah, 14 is my guess, because it seems like she was evicted when she was 7. Was 14, maybe 15. How long was she with the Roberts? Yeah, that's unspecified. She was 7 when she was kicked out. An amount of time passed. Then she died for 7 years. Let's hope she was with the robbers for like at least 4 years. Let's hope 5 or more. The story makes it kind of ambiguous if the mirror is actually magic. Could just be saying very florally that the queen thinks she's the prettiest looking at her reflection until suddenly she didn't. Yeah. You feel like the story is trying to mean that she aged while dead. You'd really want her to be around mental maturity before going into the poison coma. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. She's potentially still, the mental age of a 7-year-old. Oh yeah, there is a lot in this story to question. We don't condone this. It's not cool. That should be evident. But yeah, do feel free to ask questions, raise eyebrows, raise questions. Yeah. Excuse me. What I do like though, and honestly, I don't know when I last actually watched Snow White or some other adaptation of it, and I'm assuming it happens in that too. But I love that it's like these 3 gruff, manly men robbers take her in, and she's like, okay, well look, this place is filthy, I'm going to tidy it up. And they're like, you know what, actually, yeah, this is nice. Not having someone to tidy up, but it's like, this like the flowers and things that you bring in to decorate the place, you know what, actually, yeah, this is good, thank you. I sort of like that, she softens them. It shouldn't, again, making the obvious statement that I shouldn't have to say, it shouldn't be like, oh, the woman comes in and tidies up for the men and they're happy about this. That's not the right story to tell. That's not the right lesson to take. What's the 2025? Want to see how bad it was, Matt? Oh, I watched the clip of that was going round that someone like filmed off the cinema screen and then posted online. That was like the big kind of climactic finale, which is just like Snow White telling the Wicked Witch, like, leave now and never come back. And then as the Wicked Witch is walking, or whoever, whatever the hell her name is, I don't know, as I said, I'm not too familiar with the Snow White story. As she's leaving, she's like, no, I'm going to take a dagger, and runs at her, and then someone like shoots the dagger out of her hand, and she's like, my dagger. And everyone's like, yay! And it was bad in so many different directions. Just boring and lazy and sloppy. And I haven't seen more of the film than that, and I have no desire to. So, Yeah. Yeah. Would you like another story? We've done that one. What do we have? We've got some more. We might be able to get through all. We can do all of these. Let's have this one. I'm just going to find it. Story. Yeah. I feel like this has a little bit more, like, when we were originally like coming up with what we wanted this channel to be. I feel like a big part of, if you're making a list of starting out with like what vibes do we want, sort of the feeling that we wanted was a little bit of a like bedtime stories vibe, which, putting aside sort of infantilization of that, like it's not like a full commitment to that whole like descriptor, obviously, but in a sort of like a bedtime stories for grown-up sort of thing, like having someone to read you a story that you can doze off and fall asleep to, that kind of thing. And I feel like your boss started talking to you and you missed the end of Snow White. She ate a poisoned apple. You meant to go to bed on the stream, ate a poisoned apple, fell down, in quotation marks, dead. The three gruff robbers cried over her. They didn't wail, but they sure cried. They kept together, but they cried and were very sad. And then a handsome prince after like 7 years. So we're putting her ages anywhere between 14 or up, and we're sure hoping that number goes up. Where's the bit of the story with Geralt? He's in the next one. That's a lie, but it makes you listen. And yeah, what was I saying? I've started so many different tangents now. Thank you. Handsome prince comes along, sees her, is like, I will take this pretty girl in a coffin, and they're like, no, buddy, that's our pretty girl in the coffin. You can't have. And like, oh, I am a handsome prince. Please, any price. I will pay any amount of money to take this girl in the coffin off your hands. Now, what do I have to give you to walk away with, to take this one off the lot? They're like, well, look, no, we really don't want to. And then he's just like, at the pretty girl in the coffin dealership, just like falls to his knees and starts crying. They're like, oh, good grief. Okay, fine, take her, just stop. And so then, and apparently it's the best thing they could do for her, because then while he's like, driving her home, his men who are carrying the coffin, one of them trips over a root, stumbles, drops the coffin, it lands on the ground, dislodges, and Snow White sits up and is like, hey up, I'm awake, what's going on here? And happily marries the prince. And nobody asks how old she is, or what her mental age is, because she was somewhere possibly in the region of 7 when she died. And she's not going to have done a lot of learning while in a comatose state in a coffin. Bedtime story for adults vibe definitely achieved. Good. Yeah, like I say, I feel like reading fairy tales, particularly fairy tales. It said folk tales, not fairy tales, but they are fairy tales too. Really like gives the vibe. You enjoying these? They are familiar enough to listen to while working. Yeah, I like reading them. It's nice. The 8-year-old Prince version from Tumblr. That's a lot of text, and I've already got a lot in front of me to read. But I ain't reading all that, but I'm happy for you. Sorry that happened. She was rolling past the boots when Snow White sat up and said, hey up, you got anything to stop me coughing? Yep. Oh, I have a joke for that, but it's too far into the stream now. Have I done that one on stream before? I must have. I know I attempted the horse joke when we were playing Repo on the Longest John's channel. Have I done the coffin joke? I have? Good. For those that haven't heard, the coffin joke... Anyway. Let's have another one. Let's have another story, because we're getting near the end, and I've done a lot of just yapping. And you probably would like a little bit more story. So I'm not going to waste your time further. This... Which one is this? This is another... you think the coffin joke was the first long joke I told you? Oh, I did do that. I only have two, to be fair. Those are the only ones I have. What was I saying? Yeah, this is another little folktale. This is called Three Feathers. And it is type AT425, The Search for the Lost Husband. Once upon a time, everybody clap, there was a girl who was married to a husband that she never saw. And the way this was that he was only at home at night and would never have any light in the house. So the girl thought that was funny, and all her friends told her there must be something wrong with her husband, some great deformity that made him want not to be seen. Well, one night he came home and suddenly lit the candle and saw him. She suddenly lit the candle and saw him. Sorry, I'm biffing this all over the place. He was handsome enough to make all the women of the world fall in love with him. But scarcely had she seen him when he began to change into a bird. And then he said, "Now you have seen me, you shall see me no more, unless you are willing to serve 7 years and a day for me, so that I may become a man once more." Then he told her to take 3 feathers from under his side, and whatever she wished through them would come to pass. Then he left her at a great house to be laundry maid for 7 years and a day. And the girl used to take the feathers and say, "By virtue of my 3 feathers may the copper be lit, and the clothes washed and mangled and folded and put away to the missus' satisfaction." And then she had no more care about it. The feathers did the rest, and the lady set great store by her for a better laundress she had never had. Well, one day, the butler, who had a notion to have the pretty laundry maid for his wife, said to her he should have spoken before, but he did not want to vex her. "Why should it, when I am but a fellow servant?" the girl said. And then he felt free to go on and explain he had £70 laid by with the master, and how would she like him for a husband. And the girl told him to fetch her the money, and he asked his master for it and brought it to her. But as they were going up the stairs, she cried, "Oh, John, I must go back. Sure, I've left my shutters undone, and they'll be slashing and banging all night." The butler said, "Never you trouble, I'll put them right." And he ran back while she took her feathers, and said, "By virtue of my 3 feathers may the shutters slash and bang till morning, and John not be able to fasten them, nor yet to get his fingers free from them." And so it was. Try as he might, the butler could not leave hold, nor yet keep the shutters from blowing open as he closed them. And he was angry, but could not help himself, and he did not care to tell of it and get the laugh on him, so no one knew. Then, after a bit, the coachman began to notice her, and she found he had some £40 with the master, and he said she might have it, if she would take him with it. So, after the laundry maid had his money in the apron, as they went merrily along, she stopped, exclaiming, "My clothes are left outside. I must run back and bring them in. Stop for me while I go. It is a cold frost night," said William. "You'd be catching your death." So the girl waited long enough to take her feathers out and say, "By virtue of my 3 feathers may the clothes slash and blow about till morning, and may William not be able to take his hand from them, nor yet to gather them up." And then she was away to bed and to sleep. The coachman did not want to be everyone's jest, and he said nothing. So after a bit the footman comes to her, and said he, "I have been with my master for years, and have saved up a good bit, and you have been 3 years here, and must have saved up as well. Let us put it together, and make us a home, or else stay on at service as pleases you." Well, she got him to bring the savings to her, as the others had, and then she pretended she was faint, and said to him, "James, I feel so queer. Run down cellar for me, that's a dear, and fetch me up a drop of brandy." Now, no sooner had he started than she said, "By virtue of my 3 feathers, may there be slashing and spilling, and James not be able to pour the brandy straight, nor yet take his hand from it until the morning." And so it was. Try as he might, James could not get his glass filled, and there was slashing and spilling, and right on it all, down came the master to know what it meant. So James told him he could not make it out, but he could not get the drop of brandy the laundry-maid had asked for, and his hand would shake and spill everything, and yet come away he could not. This got him in for a regular scrape, and the master, when he got back to his wife, said, "What has come over the men? They were all right until that laundry-maid of yours came. Something is up now, though. They have all drawn out their pay, and yet they don't leave. What can it be, anyway?" But his wife said she could not hear of the laundry-maid being blamed, for she was the best servant she had had. So she was the best servant she had, and worth all the rest put together. So it went on, until one day, as the girl stood in the hall door, the coachman happened to say to the footman, "Do you know how that girl served me, James?" And then William told about the clothes. The butler put in, "That was nothing to what she served me," and he told of the shutters clapping all night. So then the master came through the hall, and the girl said, "By virtue of my 3 feathers may there be slashing and striving between master and men, and may all get splashed in the pond." And so it was. The men fell to disputing which had suffered the most by her, and when the master came up, all would be heard at once, and none listened to him, and it came to blows all round, and the first they knew they had shoved one another into the pond. So when the girl thought they had had enough, she took the spell off, and the master asked her what had begun the row, for he had not heard in the confusion. And the girl said, "They were ready to fall on anyone. They'd have beat me if you had not come by." So it blew over for that time, and through her feathers she made the best laundress ever known. But, to make a long story short, when the 7 years and a day were up, the bird husband, who had known her doings all along, came after her, restored to his own shape again, and he told her mistress he had come to take her from being a servant, and that she should have servants under her, but he did not tell of the feathers. And then he bade her give the men back their savings. "That was a rare game you had with them," said he, "but now you are going where there is plenty, so leave them each their own." So she did, and they drove off to their castle, where they lived happy ever after. The end. Yeah, and I will now find the last story that I will be reading tonight. Benny Hill music intensifies. Yeah, just, I wish for each of these men to be caught up on a slapstick caper. Why did he turn into a bird? Just did. I guess some kind of curse on him. Yeah, it's not addressed. You've got to read the prequel. Before he was Birdman, he was Bird. No, he was man. Before he was Birdman, he was man. Damn it. Okay, go back and do that again. 30 birds. Coming this Christmas. Played by Johnny Depp. Man. This is an extremely clumsy attempt at referencing the... Before he was Scrooge, he was Ebenezer. Johnny Depp is in an adaptation of A Christmas Carol-ish, but it's a prequel adaptation to A Christmas Carol, where finally we find out how Ebenezer Scrooge became Scrooge. Because it's not like that's addressed anywhere, and it's not like that's literally the point of the story. That's just a Christmas Carol. That's why are we attempting to do an origin story for a man whose story we know him from is literally his origin story, an examination of how he went from being who he was to who he is now and where it's going to take him. what is the point in this story? Why are we giving Johnny Depp more work? Maybe I've misunderstood. I haven't looked further than seeing the premise of the poster. That's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not what they're doing. But that is what is implied, and so I have spun this entire story out in my head. And I cannot be judged for doing so. He was always both Ebenezer and Scrooge. That's how first and last names work. Also, yes. Yes. This is an actual thing. Oh, yeah. Like, it's... So, yeah, no. Yes. Someone turned me off and back on again. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this is real. This is real. No, I'm not riffing. No, this is real. There is this Christmas. I'm now just doing free promo work for the film. There is Christmas, a for real film titled Ebenezer, using the tagline "Before he was Scrooge, he was Ebenezer," starring Johnny Depp. None of what I have just said is a joke. There you go. Enjoy that for the rest of your day. Yeah. Have fun. I'm going to read the last story. I forget which one this was. Oh yeah, no, yeah, I know which one this is. This is going to be your last story for tonight. I hope this has been fun. This, just once I get the attack of burps that has assaulted me out of my system. Apologies. Strictly speaking, it's the other way around. Oh, you're born with your surname. You don't have the first name until your parents give it to you. He was Scrooge before he was Ebenezer, if only by a few minutes. True. Yes, true. Very much, yes, it's been fun. Oh, good, I'm glad. I hope this one doesn't do anything to undermine that. It shouldn't, but it could. Who knows? I don't know your tastes. This last story it's another short one. This is the story of Mr. Vinegar. Mr. and Mrs. Vinegar lived in a vinegar bottle. Now one day, when Mr. Vinegar was from home, Mrs. Vinegar, who was a very good housewife, was busily sweeping her house, when an unlucky thump of the broom brought the whole house clitter-clatter about her ears. In a paroxysm of grief, she rushed forth to meet her husband. On seeing him, she exclaimed, "Oh, Mr. Vinegar, we are ruined! I have knocked the house down, and it is all to pieces." Mr. Vinegar then said, "My dear, let us see what can be done. Here is the door. I will take it on my back, and we will go forth to seek our fortune." They walked all that day, and at nightfall entered a thick forest. They were both excessively tired, and Mr. Vinegar said, "My love, I will climb up into a tree, drag up the door, and you shall follow." He accordingly did so, and they both stretched their weary limbs on the door, and fell fast asleep. In the middle of the night, Mr. Vinegar was disturbed by the sound of voices beneath, and to his inexpressible dismay perceived that a party of thieves were met to divide their booty. "Here, Jack," said one, "here's £5 for you. Here, Bill, here's £10 for you. Here, Bob, here's £3 for you." Mr. Vinegar could listen no longer. His terror was so intense that he trembled most violently, and shook down the door on their heads. Away scampered the thieves, but Mr. Vinegar dared not quit his retreat till broad daylight. He then scrambled out of the tree, and went to lift up the door. What did he behold but a number of golden guineas? "Come down, Mrs. Vinegar," he cried. "Come down, I say! Our fortune's made! Our fortune's made! Come down, I say!" Mrs. Vinegar got down as fast as she could, and saw the money with equal delight. "Now, my dear," said she, "I'll tell you what you shall do. There is a fair at the neighbouring town. You shall take these 40 guineas and buy a cow. I can make butter and cheese, which you shall sell at market, and we shall then be able to live very comfortably." Mr. Vinegar joyfully assents, takes the money, and goes off to the fair. When he arrived, he walked up and down, and at length saw a beautiful red cow. It was an excellent milker, and perfect in every respect. "Oh," thought Mr. Vinegar, "if I had but that cow, I should be the happiest man alive." So he offers the 40 guineas for the cow, and the owner, declaring that, as he was a friend, he'd oblige him, the bargain was made. Proud of his purchase, he drove the cow backwards and forwards to show it. By and by he saw a man playing the bagpipes, tweedledum, tweedledee. The children followed him about, and he appeared to be pocketing money on all sides. "Well," thought Mr. Vinegar, "if I had but that beautiful instrument, I should be the happiest man alive. My fortune would be made." So he went up to the man. "Friend," says he, "what a beautiful instrument that is, and what a deal of money you must make." "Why, yes," said the man, "I make a great deal of money, to be sure, and it is a wonderful instrument." "Oh," cried Mr. Vinegar, "how I should like to possess it." "Well," said the man, "as you are a friend, I don't much mind parting with it. You shall have it for that red cow." "Done," said the delighted Mr. Vinegar. So the beautiful red cow was given for the bagpipes. He walked up and down with his purchase, but in vain he attempted to play a tune, and instead of pocketing pence, the boys followed him, hooting, laughing, and pelting. Poor Mr. Vinegar, his fingers grew very cold, and, heartily ashamed and mortified, he was leaving the town, when he met a man with a fine, thick pair of gloves. "Oh, my fingers are so very cold," said Mr. Vinegar to himself. "If I had but those beautiful gloves, I should be the happiest man alive." He went up to the man and said to him, "Friend, you seem to have a capital pair of gloves there." "Yes, truly," cried the man, "and my hands are as warm as possible this cold November day." "Well," said Mr. Vinegar, "I should like to have them." "What will you give?" said the man. "As you are a friend of mine, I don't much mind letting you have them for those bagpipes." "Done!" cried Mr. Vinegar. He put on the gloves and felt perfectly happy as he trudged homewards. At last he grew very tired, when he saw a man coming towards him with a good stout stick in his hand. "Oh," said Mr. Vinegar, "that I had but that stick! I should then be the happiest man alive." He accosted the man. "Friend, what a rare good stick you have got." "Yes," said the man, "I have used it for many a long mile, and a good friend it has been. But if you have a fancy for it, as you are a friend, I don't mind giving it to you for that pair of gloves." Mr. Vinegar's hands were so warm, and his legs so tired, that he gladly exchanged. As he drew near to the woods where he had left his wife, he heard a parrot in a tree calling out his name. "Mr. Vinegar, you foolish man, you blockhead, you simpleton, you went to the fair, and laid out all your money in buying a cow. Not content with that, you changed it for bagpipes on which you could not play, and which were not worth 1/10 of the money. You fool, you had no sooner got the bagpipes than you changed them for the gloves, which were not worth 1/4 of the money, and when you had got the gloves, you changed them for a poor miserable stick, and now for your 40 guineas, cow, bagpipes, and gloves, you have nothing to show but that poor miserable stick which you might have cut in any hedge." On this the bird laughed immoderately, and Mr. Vinegar, falling into a violent rage, threw the stick at its head. The stick lodged in the tree, and he returned to his wife without money, cow, bagpipes, gloves, or stick, and she instantly gave him such a sound cudgelling that she almost broke every bone in his skin. The end. Thank you for listening. How many beans is a cow worth? 2 in each hand and 1 in the mouth. Oh, sorry, I left you talking about A thrilling ghost story set in Dickens London following one man's supernatural journey to face his past, present and future as he fights for a second chance of redemption. That's just a Christmas Carol. That's just a Christmas Carol. Why are you trying to dress it up as anything else? Anyway, enough of that. Don't think you know any version of that one? No, I was just drawn in by the name. The Story of Mr Vinegar. Like, that's... Okay, let's see where this goes. Turns out, Mr Vinegar just loves a trade and is very bad at it. Possibly ADHD, I don't know. Sees a thing. Ooh, that's the most interesting thing I've ever seen, ever. Can I have a go on it? It no longer has a Wi-Fi that, nope, probably traded her away too. Who among us? Whom amongst us hasn't looked at someone playing an instrument and gone, you know what? If I buy one of those, I could probably make a lot of money being good at it. And then, the second act of the story turns out it's actually very difficult to play and you don't make any money off it at all. Who doesn't feel the finger point of judgment pointed right at them right now for having done such a thing? Certainly not me. Or, purchase some other piece of equipment. Hashtag relatable. Yep. That's why you stick to one instrument. Wise. Came in, have a good time, not be attacked. Yeah. Throughout the course of that story, I'm certainly not thinking of multiple things that I have spent money on, thinking, you know what? If I get good at this, maybe someone might pay me to do it. And that has never happened. But who could say? Right, I am going to go because my voice is getting a little bit raspy and I've got a day off tomorrow, but then I'm back on Thursday where I've realised actually Parola's suggestion I may not be able to do. Where did you put it? In stream footnotes. The Voice in the Night. I may not be able to do it because I don't think I have the book that was in. I made the mistake, and I knew when I did it it was a mistake, of lending some of my books to someone, and it was a trade. To be fair, I got we swapped books. And I now don't know that I will get them back. And, when I did it, there is a quote from Battlestar Galactica, which is something along the lines of, you don't lend people a book, you give them. You give them a book. Or you don't lend a book, you give it. Which is basically, never lend a book expecting to get it back. And, fair. Gotta put my hands up. Walked straight into that one. What did we learn about trading from the story I just read? Yeah, okay, fine. You've got me twice. That's how that goes. Yeah, so I did that. I don't actually remember all of the books that I lent. Fortunately, none of them I don't think were expensive. I don't have a lot of expensive books, but I've got a couple that I would be very financially sad to lose. But one of the ones that I did lend was my British Library Tales of the Weird William Hope Hodgson collection, which I now no longer have, and which is where The Voice in the Night is located. So I will not be able to get that for Thursday, which means, sadly, that I will not be able to read it for Thursday. But when I have found a way to acquire a new copy of that book, or perhaps regain my existing one, I would like to revisit some of those, because they were good stories. I can probably still get in touch and ask them. Yeah. Maybe. Next week. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to be able to get them back. Not going to be able to get them back by Thursday anyway. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, I think the Door in the Wall is one I was thinking of doing, because I really enjoyed that story. And, yeah, The Door in the Wall, H.G. Wells.
And I'll see how long that is and try and pick out another one to go with it. And that, for me, is going to be Thursday. But tomorrow, you get some more short stories from Lucy, because it's week, and that's what we're doing here for some of these streams. So yeah, look forward to that. I'm going to raid this evening because... where should we go? Should we go to Billiam? Billiam was in chat the other day, and we like Billiam. We don't get to go over and see him very often. Go see Billiam? You go see Billiam. I was also considering Shadow at Noon is on. No, let's go see Billiam. Let's do that. Billiam's good people. We like him. He was here. Is this going to work? /raid. It's probably going to slightly break. Oh no, that's works for now. Awesome. Great. Well, then thank you for being here. And do come back tomorrow for day 3 of Book Week. And I will ask some questions on the Discord of how people would like things to go this weekend, where we see whether people want to do a big 8-hour Widow's Bay marathon in one day, maybe split it Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll do film night another night. That's fine. I don't want to rob you of a promised film night, but we can bump that to another day and just make sure that everyone's able to see the things that they want to see. We will work with you. That's my promise. But yeah, for now, I'm going to go and then make the VOD of this and get it up on YouTube. So thank you for being here. You've been a wonderful, lovely audience, and we will see you back here tomorrow at 9, an hour later than this one started. Reminder for that. For now, goodbye and good night.